Hello, 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 and welcome to this Thursday edition of Visibility Made Easy. My name's Jenny Kovacs and I'm affectionately known as the Queen of Being Seen because you standing out, spreading your ripples far and wide, being seen, being heard and being visible is really important. Now I've got a wonky camera today. I've been wiggling it and jiggling it around, so I am just going to pull that in a bit. How are you? It feels like such a long time since I've seen you, and boy is this episode hot tonight. So you are there in front of me, and if you're watching and want to say hello, let me know that I'm not on my own. Just type hi in the box, tell me where in the world you're watching from, tell me where in the country you're watching from, and if you don't mind giving me thumbs up, love heart, angry face, laughing face or anything else, then I know that everything's working well and I won't keep doing this. Because over here is my computer, and sometimes, just sometimes, it doesn't play ball, Facebook, and I can't see your comments. And one thing that I really don't like doing is ignoring you. The other thing that I'd ask you to do is, if you or someone else that you know is either self-employed, maybe they're like a consultant, a coach, a trainer, a speaker, a service-based business, although I do help bricks and mortar businesses too, then click the share button, spread the love, because tonight's edition and episode, as promised for most of last month anyway, is very special. I'm doing these once a week on a Thursday evening here in the UK at 7:30, at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and PDT or Pacific time is at 2:30 in the afternoon. So here's what I want to start giving you. I really feel like I want to honour your time and give you a whole ton of value. And one of the ways I can do that, rather than flapping my gums for half an hour with you and just cutting and running, I thought it'd be a really great idea to be able to share a free sheet afterwards, so that you can, whether it's a checklist or a workbook, so that you can experience that this stuff really works, and you can experience that visibility can be made so simple. So as I look over here, I'm just looking at my computer, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a link just below this live now, so that you can download this sheet either during the live if you're by your computer or after the live. Either way, it will help you to take what we share together now to the next level, help you to be seen, to be heard, to be noticed. Funnily enough, one of my friends has said to me, "Oh, Jenny, isn't that like, aren't you giving away so much? What about all those people that pay you to work with you, groups, individuals or whatever?" Don't worry, there's plenty more, and there's a much deeper level. It's much easier for me to serve you when I can actually work with you either one-to-one or in a group. I can ask you lots of questions back, we can roll our sleeves up, and I can really get in there. So my comments aren't working, so you will see me do this a lot. So Alan is on, he says, "Hi Jenny," and Ali is on, she says, "Evening Blossom," and I like that, Ali, because it's spring. You might not want to look at the second lot of flowers. It's spring. Today was sunny in London. I was out and about working from different places in London, and the flowers' water evaporated. Eek! I'll get some more tomorrow. Anyway, let's crack on. And for those of you that are watching live right now or on the replay, you'll see that I have just put a link in the box. And it says, it's a bit.ly link, so it's a shortened link, and it just says VME for Visibility Made Easy, episode 49. If you click on that link, you'll just need to put in your email address, and you'll get an email to your email box, which will, you click on that and you'll get your sheet. Now, if any of you watched the Monday Motivation and jumped on early, clicked and didn't get anything, if you go back again and do it, it works now. Took me a while, but it works. So thank you for joining me. So tonight, what we're going to talk about tonight? Well, if you haven't already seen the video that I made, especially for you on Tuesday, it's not even on my YouTube channel, you'll know that it was all around how you approach a speaking gig. And there were 3 key elements of that, which I'll go over in a moment. However, tonight, I wanted to hone down to help your visibility, to help you stand out to the people that you want to stand out to and speak to. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to dig deep into one of those 3 pieces that I went to on Tuesday. So if you haven't seen the video, watched the video yet, don't worry. After you've watched this, if you scroll down, you'll see the video. Just click on the little arrow in the top right hand side as you look at it, and it will let you save the video, and you could go back and watch it at your convenience. This is a raw video, a video that I made especially for you, uploaded it into Facebook onto that page, or onto this page, and it's around 15 minutes long, but it's juicy, so I've been told. So once you've had a look at it, just, you know, give me a comment and let me know how you get on, because it was something that I shared which helped me to secure a speaking gig where somebody approached me within 8 minutes. So if you've got 15 minutes to spare to then start looking at how you approach more of them, then I really hope that you take the time to have a look. So Ali's saying hello to Alan. I love that. It's funny because as I'm speaking to you, I'm getting lots of pings from the lovely Visibility Viber group, who clearly are so busy chatting to each other and sharing with each other that they are going to be watching this on the replay, hey? It'd be nice to see you. If you are watching in the background, do jump on. So tonight I am going to be going deep. So one of the things that I really want to be able to share with you is, how do you share with someone else's audience? Now, this isn't about what you actually say. I'm leaving that to you. You guys are experts. You know your subject matter. You know how you want to be seen in the world and what you want to talk about. But what I'm actually going to be sharing with you in this video are, I didn't even count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things for you to look out for you to be able to do when you are sharing with someone else's audience. And to boot, the bit that I get asked about the most, whether it's from current clients, whether it's from the lovely Visibility Vibers, or whether it's from people that I meet when I'm out speaking or training or teaching, is this. It normally comes in the way of, well, how do I get the speaking engagement in the first place? Or someone's just asked me to speak, what do I say? It's probably the subject that most of my one-to-one clients call me about. They get an SOS call with me. They'll say, I've just been asked to speak. I don't know what to charge. I don't know what to say. I don't know what I should go back to them with. I don't know what information to give them. And all of it stems from these 7 points that I'm going to share. So I'm just going to take a sip of generic coconut water. And shall we get started? Shall we begin? So hopefully you've got pen and paper ready, but if not, don't worry. You'll have a download after this. It has got these 7 pointers as check-offs, as a checklist, and with that you'll be able to print it out, scribble your notes across it, you know, write lines through it, throw it at the wall, make paper darts, or whatever you want to do. So on Tuesday, I shared there were 3 key elements of what I shared or what I said when I spoke to this person who approached me for a recent speaking gig, and it was in under 8 minutes. The first thing was the need, and it wasn't, normally speakers are trained to set their demands, let the host know what they want, what they need. Do they need a table? Do they need white M&Ms? Do they need lilies? Do they need a mic? Do they need PowerPoint? When in fact, excuse my throat, I'm still recovering from this cough thing, which has been a couple of weeks now, I have to say. So a lot of the time people ask about what they need, but on this occasion, when you do visibility with vibe, when you do visibility in a way that stands out, then what you actually do is you actually find out what the host needs. You find out what the host needs, you find out what their audience needs, and you find out other bits that I'm going to take you through now step by step. The other things, just in case you're wondering, is you'll find out how much time you have to speak, and you'll also find out the numbers in the audience. Again, I won't go through it now because it's all on the video, the reasons why that's important, and it's not likely to be for the reasons that you think. So let's dig into the need. Ready to go? If you are, give me a yes in the chat box and I will go through. So Alan had lost us, but he's back with us. Hey, Tracy's on. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Alan. Alan's back. That's really great. His screen went blank with no sound, but he's managed to sort that out. Thank goodness. Thank you for joining me. And if you know anyone else that wants to join on while I'm going to get to these 7 juicy nuggets and get their free download, then let me know. Once we've finished, I'll put on here, grab your checklist here. In fact, I might even do it now so that you can see it, especially if you're watching back on the replay. then that way you'll be able to go through this video and you'll be able to put these things in action really quickly. And let me know, especially in the Visibility Vibes tribe, let me know how you get on. I love to hear about it. Okay, so that's all in the box now. So the first thing or the first need that you do actually need to check with your host, when somebody, whether you've approached somebody to speak to their audience or whether they've approached you, as was the example that I'm giving, but there's not much difference in this step. And by the way, if you've got questions as we go through this, please type them in the box. Give me a second just to go hop over to the page and have a look, and then I'll be more than happy to answer because they're not showing on the screen. So, the first thing that you need to do is the need that you need to satisfy is the one of your host. So in this particular example, I was asked to speak to a couple of hundred people, and they were part of a governing body, not a governing body, they were part of an association, excuse me. Now, this isn't the first time I've gone through this. So this works as well when I was asked to do some work for a corporate, to set up something to do with their brand. A lot of kind of well-known corporates, some of the corporates I've worked with are people like British Telecom, Boots, Bombardier, Miller Brands, who make the lovely Peroni, as well as some others. So I have done this. This isn't I tried this once and it works, so I'm going to teach it. This is something I've done for about 7 years, like since I've had my business and beyond, because I used to be the person in a corporate setting that used to book the training, used to book people to come and speak, used to suss out, you know, whether we were going to take them on or not. So I've kind of seen it from both sides, so I know what works. And despite popular belief, you can go and learn your own lessons, fall over, cut your knees. I'll come and rub them better and kiss them better. But why not skip out the pain? Why not just go straight to what works? Oh, thank you. So, a lot of people commenting on my cough and sending me private messages, which I don't like to read when I'm doing these. So the first need that you do need to address is that of your host. Find out what your host, and this is very, very specific, so find out the one thing that your host wants to be doing differently, or wants you know, their audience to be doing differently as a result of you coming in and speaking. Now let me give you some categories, and as you guys are on, I know we've got Tracy who deals in relationships, I know we've got Ali who helps people to reinvent themselves, I know that we've got Alan, I know we've got other people hopping on and off, but because you're not saying anything I can't use you as an example. And we've got Alan, who not only helps to coach people from like rough seas to calm waters, he's also created an online course which is juicy and ready to come out very soon. But he's also, on that course, by the way, helps you to coach yourself in a way, helps you to be able to get out there in the world and do the things that you want to do, like kind of like life coach on your shoulder. Alan also helps people who have hit or are about to hit a financial rut. He helps them too. So as an example, and I think Tracy is still on, she's a relationship coach, I think I've said that. So let's say, for example, I'm the person that's approached you and asked you to speak. I'm going to give you 3 quick fire examples just to make this really stick and to give you an example, not only from your industry, but from somebody else's. I feel it makes it a lot clearer. So the first thing that you would do, so let's take Ali. So Ali helps women to reinvent themselves. Maybe they've just had children, or maybe they're empty nesters and their children have gone. Maybe they have just got divorced, or maybe they're at the beginning fun side and they've just got married. Maybe things have changed for them and they want to be like a real integral part of their life. So what Ali would do, she'd say, oh, so Jenny, I know you'd like me to speak to your group of vibers, for example, about reinvention, but the first very specific question Ali would ask is, what would you like your audience, what would you like your vibers to get out of me sharing my juicy nuggets with you? Okay, so you can hear how that sounds. So if it's Alan, Alan's about to go and speak and maybe share his life story, and also how people can really go for the dreams and things that they want in life and not have to wait for them. So Alan would say, so Jenny, in order for me to speak to your group, you know, what is the one thing that you would like them to take away, you know, as a result of what I'm speaking about, as a result of what I share? Okay, that gets your host to think. Same for you, Tracy. You know, if you're looking at relationships, maybe you've been asked to speak at an event, maybe you've been asked to speak or share at a workshop, and this works not just for speakers. This works if you're going to deliver a training. This works if you're going to go on a workshop or deliver a workshop. This works if you're going to speak to like hundreds and thousands. It also works if you're going to speak at a networking event. Maybe you've been invited to give your 10-minute talk or your 15-minute talk at a networking event. So whoever runs a networking event, same question, what do you want your members to be getting as a result of this? Maybe you work in universities or schools. What would you like the school children to know that's different as a result of what I say? What's the one main thing? Can you hear how that sounds? Does that make sense? If it makes sense, then give me a thumbs up or a love heart. And if it doesn't make sense, then please type your question in. So Tracy says, wow, well done, Alan. I know, very proud. So it makes sense, and you're all saying what you are saying there. In fact, I should share this with the Vibers, shouldn't I? Should I share this with the Vibers? In fact, I won't. You've come up here, so I'm going to focus on you guys. So here's the thing. You've now asked that first question of the host. You've now got clarity on what's the thing that the host would like you to get out of it. There's a lot of stuff that you listen out for that we don't have time to go through tonight. The reason that I'm not going to go through what you're listening out for in detail is because you're your own subject expert. You already know what you do. You already know what value you can bring. You already know the importance and the difference that it makes. So what I'm going to focus on are the other 6 points. So first thing, and you'll see this on the checklist, is your host. The next need is the audience. Now, I know that sounds like the same question, but if you're coming to me and you're asking to speak to my audience, I'm coming to you and inviting you to speak to my audience, you're going to want to know from me what's the one thing that they need to be doing, hearing, being, feeling differently as a result of what you say. And it is one thing. If they say, oh, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to speak and I want you to, excuse me, give mindset, some mindset advice. I want you to answer questions. I want you to be able to give a slideshow, and I want you to be able to do You can hear how that sounds already. Not enough time. So this is why it's the one thing, and up to you to have that discussion and hone it down onto the one thing. But now your audience, because you want to know, what's the biggest problem that a majority of the audience are solving? Obviously, if it's an audience of one, it's just a case of asking them. And I remember doing this when I went into a very well-known British company to deliver quite a big training program. Yes, I had the manager, had the managing director actually, had the manager of a particular team. I had the senior managers, I had the HR manager, had the customer service manager, had the MD who Skyped in, kind of video called in. So I had to ask all of those because they were kind of like all my hosts. What did they want? And then I said, so what's the problem that your guys have, that your staff have? So you always want to find out what the need is of the host. So what's the one thing to be doing differently? But then next, what's the need of the audience? And again, if you've got any questions, something doesn't make sense, dive in now because I'm happy to answer. Okay, so the need of the audience. So in marketing terms, some of us have been told it's like, what problem do they need to solve? But honestly, if you go out to most hosts and say, well, what problem do you need to solve? It starts to become sticky, and it's actually not the clearest of questions. So you want to find out what is the need of the audience. So let's take Ali. Sorry, I'm picking on you tonight, Ali. But let's say that Ali wants to come and speak to the audience. And I've just seen your comments, Tracy, so I'm going to read them out in a second. But let's say Ali wants to speak to the audience. So she's asked me what I would like for people to be doing differently, and it could be I want them to know that whatever circumstances hit their life, whether it is a marriage, whether it's a new baby, whether it's a divorce, whether it's an illness, whether it's a massive change in their life, I want them to know that they still can, because I'm I'm a lot about ability, finding the sparks to show people, to let them know that they absolutely can do whatever they want. So then Ali will say to me, so, you know, what about your audience? What's the biggest thing that they're going through? And I would say, and I would have to generalise, I would say, as a rule of thumb, many of my audience have a certain level of visibility, but they want more. They want more visibility, and a lot of them, this isn't a celebrity thing or being famous thing. This is they want more visibility so more of their ideal clients can find them more easily. You know, they're not going down on the hustle and chasing people down. They want to be able to stand out more so that people can find them. What that does is it now gives Ali a subject, or it gives her like an objective for me as the person booking her, paying her if it's a paid talk, which I do keynotes as well as kind of free talks, but it also that now gives her a focus on what she's actually going to deliver and speak about, and that's how you can start to form your talk. Too many people get invited to speak, get really excited, they know their subject, they say yes, and then they're not sure quite how to position it. And trust me, because I've been there, nothing feels worse than rocking up to a room, whether it's 4 people or 4,000 people, and delivering what you've practiced and put your blood, sweat and tears into, and you just miss the mark slightly. So these 2 questions are designed to make sure that you're hot, on point, and able to give really, really great value to both the host and the audience, not have people looking at their watches. So Tracy says, I work with people in career confidence and employability. Sorry, Tracy, I think I was getting you mixed up with Ivona, wasn't I? I work with people on career confidence and employability, and also talks and workshops on body confidence. This is really interesting. Juicy. Oh, thank you. And she also says, Tracy also goes on to say, think it's great to ask the host and the audience by any other name, they are your customer, and anything we do should be tailored to their needs. Absolutely. And people ask me all the time, because I'm comfortable in the corporate space. People say, but if I get asked to speak corporately, it's you know, it's the HR director, it's a training manager, it's the sales manager, you know, it's the MD, it's the chief exec that I'm speaking to. They're the ones that are paying me. There's a whole other level of what you can go into. I tend, if you know that you are already going into a corporate setting and you want to do more, I tend to work with people on a one-to-one basis so that we can get really specific, because it depends on the industry, you know, the sector and things like that. But there are more questions to ask, which actually gets you like really razor sharp on point, and also means that you are then satisfying the people who are paying you, and you are satisfying their audience, and there's other ways that you can get into their audience too. Fun ways too. That's a story for another time. So thank you for those comments and that feedback, Tracy. That's really, really handy. So it's funny, because I can see that Villy and Shelley are commenting on the post that I'm following in the Visibility Vibes tribe group, but I'm here talking about this. So hopefully some of you are watching this over dinner, cooking your dinner and things like that. And I hope that you put this this time in your diary and come back, because it'll just be on a weekly basis now. I was doing kind of 5 a week, and that was just too much for you, you guys. So do come back and bring your friends, tell your friends, bring them next Thursday too. I'll be doing this even throughout the summer. So, excuse me, now you've asked your host what they've needed, and you've asked your audience, how do you demonstrate your credibility? You see, the person that approached me had never ever heard of me. They weren't in my tribe, they weren't in my audience, they weren't in my community, they weren't in my LinkedIn profile. They had never ever like seen anything that I've done, heard anything that I've done. So in 8 minutes, not only did I have to clarify what they needed and what their audience needed, I also had to give my credibility. Now, take care. I teach visibility with vibe, which means it's not visibility with arrogance or ego. And that's fine if that's the way you want to do visibility, but it's not what I teach, because it's not that effective, and it can have you be visible for completely the wrong reasons. It can have people coming back and saying, you know what, I was going to, you know, work with this person, but, you know, no good. Even worse, if somebody's recommended you on to somebody else and they behave badly, it does reflect on you whether you like it or not. So I teach visibility with vibe. So how do you demonstrate your credibility in that short amount of time? Well, because you've already asked those questions now, you've got answers, and you're starting to form an, you know, kind of like an idea of what you want to teach and what you want to share. Now, because you've done that, you can now create credibility. You've now heard a lot from the host as to kind of what people need, what they want, you know, what's going to move them forward. So you now know how you can position the bits of your life that are relevant to the audience. You can now demonstrate your credibility. When I say credibility, I want you to think in your head the juicy nuggets that you've learned through your insights, the things that you've achieved, that will help the audience. That will help the host, bearing in mind what they've just said, but will also help the audience. This is really, really important. So this doesn't become a list of your qualifications. It doesn't become a list of how many MBAs you've got. It doesn't become a list of how many training courses you've attended. It doesn't become a list of your personal development. It doesn't even become a list of how many times you've spoken before. That actually becomes irrelevant. And this is why I get a bee in my bonnet, and I'm not going to rant about it now, but I get a real bee in my bonnet when people or, you know what, I listened to a video of theirs 60 times. I get why that's important in some circles, but when you are demonstrating your credibility, we're back. When you're demonstrating your credibility, it is not important. None of that matters. You know, I've been doing this for long enough to know, not just for myself, but with other clients, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't stop people from booking you. It doesn't stop people from asking you to run workshops or to host things on their behalf or to train them or to deliver keynotes or anything else. It really doesn't matter. So, excuse me, how do you develop your credibility, especially in a short space of time? What you do is, now you've listened out to what the host needs and the audience needs, you're now able to match what you can offer over to the host. Make sense? So you pick out the pieces of your life that are relevant, you pick out the insights and the golden nuggets that you share, and you're able just to put the host's mind at rest that it's all okay. And when you do that, you also make sure that you let the person you're speaking to, or the group, the host, whoever, because sometimes it's done by panel, you let them know not only the great things and the great insights you share, but you let them know a little bit about what you understand about their audience. Now, Tracy, with her, her body confidence and employability stuff, she would have had an experience. It could be her own experience. It could be that of a client. She doesn't have to name the client. It could be that of an organisation. She would have had her own experience, which takes us on to the next point. And you'll see this on the checklist, the fleshy underbelly. Too many people go in and think that they have to say, I have this qualification, I've done this, I've spoken to thousands of people, me, when in fact it actually can click somebody off. The thing that you do want to do is you want to go in and let them know why you're the person speaking about this thing, but you want to show your fleshy underbelly. So for that, what do I mean by that? You want to let them know in a real life way, in real life language, why you understand. So I talk about visibility, I talk about standing out, getting your stuff out there and spreading your ripples far and wide. And one of the things I might also share is that I've experienced what it feels like to not have that experience. And I probably will experience it again in the future, but I know what it feels like to be sat behind your computer, sending out emails like fury, sending your links, answering questions online in Facebook groups, and people just don't seem to hear you. I know what it's like when people send you a message and they say, I really want to work with you, and you start talking to them and they just go, no, I'll think about it. I understand not only what it does for the people that you're interacting with, but what it does for you. So you need to let them know, show just, not reams and reams of stuff, just one thing that shows that you understand, almost like the pain point that the audience is feeling. Once you've done that, it up levels your credibility. So first thing is check out the need of your host. Second thing, check out the need of your audience. Next thing, let them know about your credibility, not in a boasty kind of way, but how you can really add value. Fourth piece is the fleshy underbelly. Let them know, like, that you understand, properly understand in real life terms how it feels. It could be, you know what, I remember dealing with a client who was actually a school teacher, and this school teacher lost so much of their visibility, which then had a knock-on effect with their confidence. Lost so much of their confidence they didn't even want to stand up and talk in a meeting. Can you imagine that? They go to school, they didn't want to speak in a meeting, and then it got worse. Parents' evening came, and they said, I know this is really ridiculous, but I'm now dreading speaking to the parents at parents' evening. And then they'd go into assemblies and wanted to shrink at the back, would delegate it to another teacher to speak to. So when you start speaking in their language, they understand that you really do understand, and you know the impact that it has in a kind of negative way for them, and that you don't want them to go through that, and that's why you'd love to share your insights. Make sense? I will check. Okay. I love that. Get this both metaphorically and physically. Thank you, Tracy. It's so true, though. It is so true. The fleshy underbelly. This was a big part of the talk I did recently. I had to share my vulnerability. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, people think they have to have these, like, big stories, and that's not always the case. You know, as I was walking home tonight, I got a train back, and as I was walking up the street, I saw a mum and her little girl. Now, the little girl must have been about 3, and she's on her bike, she's got a helmet on, stabilisers are both off, and she's a little bit wobbly, and she's obviously just learnt to ride a bike. And you know that feeling where there's a clean path there, there's a clear path, the little girl's riding, the mum's looking very intently at the little girl just to make sure that nothing goes on toward. And as she's like, riding along, she sees me coming. So I really gave her a wide berth, but I went to the inside of the path by a tree, and you could see the 3-year-old was getting a bit more wobbly. It was a bit like, I've got to be straighter, and all of a sudden started going all over the place. And it was funny because I liken that to visibility. Many of you say, oh, I'm not that confident, or I hate going out there. But that's not true, because you stand and you teach your yoga classes, you know, you run your holistic therapies, you go and consult in rooms full of people, you go and speak to rooms full of people, you tell people about your book, and you'll happily share the lessons. For many of you, you'll go and coach people, you'll go and to a networking event. Yes, you might not feel 100% comfortable, but it reminded me, that little girl on the bike reminded me of what happens when all of a sudden they go, now the world is watching, whoa, and they start, rather than just being a little bit shaky, they start swerving all over the place. You know, people are watching. What if I run into them? What if I fall off my bike? And it's very, very similar. And it's almost like I don't intend to, but I can't help but collect these real life metaphors of things as they happen. I think it helps to, I hope, deliver a better experience for you guys. Let me know if that's true, or let me know if that's rubbish. I don't mind either way. So, oh yes, so I've read that, Tracy said it was a big part of the talk. So the next things that you will need to definitely think about when you're looking at Visibility Made Easy, you've done your host, your audience, your credibility, your fleshy underbelly. Now it's about how you'll share. There's 2 different ways to look at how you'll share. One of the ways in how you'll share is, what is going to be the thing that's going to get the audience that big transformation? Is it a metaphor? Is it a story like something I've just told? Is it an exercise you can get them to do? Is it something that you get them to take away? Is it a handout? What is it? So how you'll share. The second piece is like, well, when you'll share, like, how will you share? So one is about how will you share for the audience, and the other is like, how will you share for you? Okay, you've been doing this long enough to know what works and what doesn't. Sometimes because it's our workshop we've been invited to, our speaking gig we've been invited to, our thing that we need to host for a Facebook group, or something else like that, we'll get in our own stuff about how we'll share it. But you'll know the one thing that feels best, but you'll only know how to share it physically when you've asked all of those questions. This is a little bit like climbing up a little flight of stairs. If you jump straight into the fifth step, you're going to miss out the opportunity of not just going up comfortably on the other steps. Okay, so really important that you share. And the seventh thing is your vibe. And I said this earlier, but one of the things that so many people do is that they, you know, they're so kind of like excited some of the times. Other times I've seen it where people have been so puffed up, there's been an arrogance or an ego piece where they've gone, well, you know what? I've been asked to speak. Now, one thing that I want to go back to, because the how I shared thing, I didn't kind of really, on the second piece, how you'll share. There's how you'll share physically, what exercise you'll go through, but also it's worth having a conversation at that point with the host. And I always do this first up. Let them know how you'll share their event if you can. Now, I know that like for one time I actually spoke in someone's private mastermind to their group. It wasn't something that I could share outside of the mastermind, and they couldn't join. So that was a time when I wasn't able to share. But if, you know, if someone's coming to me and saying, you know, I really want to be able to, you know, run your Vibers through this exercise, or run your mastermind through this exercise, or on your one-day event, be able to share this particular piece, it's good that you know how you'll share in terms of exercise, but it's also good for you to know how you'll share this event. So if you're getting asked to speak at an event and they're selling tickets, ask them, is it okay for me to let people know on my Facebook page, on my Twitter page, by email? Is it all right for me to, you know, direct people to your website? Is it all right for me to tell people this is going on? How can they book their own ticket and get in there? So many people have this whole thing of, now I've been asked to speak, I'm going to get ready to speak, I'm going to buy my nice shoes and my nice outfit, and they don't think about the host. The host has had to bring all of those people together. So one of the things that I asked very recently was, you know, when I had to do this talk, I said, so now I know, because I knew who the audience was, because I'd have this conversation. Now I know it's for these types of people that work in this type of sector and industry. Are you okay for me to speak to some of my contacts? You know, I come from a certain background, you know, and I know that there are a lot of people that might like to attend this conference. They said, yeah, sure. Where would you like me to direct them to? Website. Oh, and we've got a Twitter page too. Excellent. Let me just write this down. Scribbled it down on a piece of paper so I was able to then share. So that is one of the things, and that ties in with the last piece. So I can see that more people have been hopping on since we've spoken. So first bit is check out the need for your host. Second bit, check out the need for your audience. And by the way, when I've done the last piece, that will be it. So if you've got a question, you need to type it in now. Third piece is your credibility. How are you going to demonstrate your credibility that doesn't read like a long list of, here are the letters behind my name, this is the MBA I did, this is the course that I did. People don't want to hear that. They want to know why you're the person to share. Fourth piece is like your fleshy underbelly. There'll be one thing that really lets both the host and the audience know that you understand. What is that thing you're going to share? You can't deliver this from a place of ego. You can't deliver this from a place of, I'll feed you some of the crumbs, but I won't share properly. I have many stories about visibility and how I've been impeded, you know, in the past. And I share them at appropriate times with my audience. Not because I'm hiding anything, but if I start telling you a story about how I was kind of, you know, too scared to get out there and be visible on a certain trip or something like that, then it's not going to serve you. So make sure that you are able to show one thing that shows your insights. Other words known, and you'll see it on the free download, your fleshy underbelly. How will you share your nuggets? You're the king and the queens of what you do. You know how to have a great effect. You know how to get your own messages. You actually know how to, not necessarily how to get your messages out there, let me be clearer. You know what it is you do and how you can have a really great effect for lasting change with your audience, for insights, for thoughts. So the next bit, how will you share too, which you'll see on the checklist, is how will you share the event that the person's going to. You know, about a month or so ago, I had the lovely Brenda Gabriel, who's a PR expert. I had her come into the Visibility Vibe Tribe group. Many of you will remember that. And one of the first things she asked, and she doesn't even kind of like know the depths of my work, she's never been a client of mine, was, Is it all right for me to tell people? Of course. So she posted on Facebook, she posted in a group, and she said, like, this is going to be exclusive to Jenny's Visibility Vibes tribe. So if you're interested in this, hop on in. And in she went. So she was sharing from day one. Really, really important. So the last piece are your vibes. I talk about this all the time because I don't feel many people or enough people address this. The backbone of what I share is always a nice big splattering of how to, but also a nice big measure of like who you are inside. Who are you behind closed doors? Who are you when no one's watching? Your vibe needs to come across, and here's the reason. If you're the sort of person that's mean to the waiter and, you know, says horrible things and clicks your fingers, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but what I am saying is it might be a mismatch for the audience you're about to share. If you are grumpy, be grumpy. Allow yourself to be grumpy and let people know that's part of your vibe. It's a bit like poor Jack D gets a bad rap, but you know how he has that kind of very dry sense of humour and stuff like that. People love him for that. The people that don't love him for that sort of thing won't get it. Okay, so allow yourself to be yourself. Allow your vibe to come out. So if you are a caring, sharing person, let the host know that you're that caring, sharing person, because it's likely to be reflected either in the talk you give, in the workshop you run, you know, in the class that you teach, in the webinar you run, in the Facebook Live you do, in the video you share, in the blog you write, or any of those things. So I hope that's made a lot of sense to you. I'd invite you to go click on the link, just put in your email address, you'll get an email, and in that email you'll get a download where you're able to watch this back bit by bit, scribble your notes, and I would say don't scribble down what I'm saying, scribble down against each step what you are going to do differently as a result of watching this. So I'm just going to check one more time to see if there are any more questions, which it doesn't look like there are. Just let me refresh that page because I haven't refreshed it for a while. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a gorgeous evening if you're here in the UK or Europe, a lovely afternoon if you are in Pacific time, and a lovely rest of the morning, although it's kind of lunchtime for you guys, if you are on Eastern time. So thank you so much for joining me. I just want to make sure that I don't ignore anyone. Yeah, Joe Brown too, says Tracy. Absolutely. I believe you have a big part to play in making it a success too, if someone's been kind enough to ask you to speak. Absolutely. And also, by asking these questions, it also means that if you're not a good fit, you release them. You lovingly release them. They feel great. You feel great. They can go and find the right person. You might even know the right person because you've asked the questions. Hey, I know this person I can recommend, and off you go. So I hope that makes sense. Tracy says it's been very useful indeed. Thank you, Tracy. And she says, thank you, Jenny. No, thank you. I love doing this. I absolutely adore doing this. I have a right bee in my bonnet about you guys being brilliant and being told that you can't do something. It's like it's having the ultimate confidence to be brilliant. And it's funny because I was writing some notes down when I was preparing for this live, and I wanted to call it like you know, like Comp for Brilliance or something like that, but it's having that juicy ball of knowing exactly what you want to do, why you want to do it. Tracy said, yeah, I think it's great to get visibility for their event as well. It gives your tribe, audience, possibility, the chance to see you too. It does, and I just think, you know, for those of you that have run events, you'll know how hard it is to get those bums on seats, whether it's 6 people, whether it's 60 people, you know, whether it's 600, 6,000 people. I have had events in the past because I haven't had enough numbers, and it doesn't feel great, you know. I'm always honest when that happens with the people who have attended or have said they're going to book. But it can be, it doesn't have to be a struggle, but it can be hard. And I just think if you can, you know, show a leg up, you know, if you're going to be speaking or presenting or running a workshop or going into a corporate, you now know exactly what's going to be shared. Lots of people that would love and like it. So thank you so much for joining. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining me. Can't see any other questions. Thank you so much. And if you know of anyone else who's likely to be asked to speak, to deliver workshops, to even go into corporate settings, by all means, share this video with them, share them with your tribe, because we want everyone to be getting out there with their own visibility in their own vibe. If you've watched this and you've got something coming up and you're like, Jenny, I don't have the time to work with hordes of people in a crowd, you do know that you can work with me like one-to-one. We can work over the phone, we can work over Skype, or we can work in the flesh. If this is something that you would like to do, by all means, just go up to the top there and hit the message button. I would absolutely adore the opportunity to be able to work with you. I'll send you a link, we'll book a time to speak, we'll find out what you need, I'll find out whether I am the person to help you, and if there's a way in which we can work together, which often there is, then I'll let you know that all on the call too. So just go up to the top there, hit the messaging button, happy to send you the link. Thank you so much for joining me, and remember to get your download. Thanks so much. I look forward to you being seen, being heard, being noticed, and getting out there in the world. Signing off from the Queen of Being Seen. Bye for now.